my grandfather told them, well, he knows how to build or not to run, but they told him not to worry. The cooker from which was at home, my grandmother took the cooker from home to take and made sure the first few meals were made. See, Sri Lanka is a 5-star island with a 3-star image.
Welcome once again to the Cal Circle, where we sit down with some of Sri Lanka's most prominent business leaders and really unpack the story behind some legacy Sri Lankan brands that all of us have obviously heard about but may not really know the story behind, right? So today we are joined by Dmitri Cooray. Dimitri, firstly, thank you for being with us today. Dimitri is someone very near and dear to the Cal family. And I say that because Jetwing owns about 30% of Cal's business, so I have to be nice to him today. Dimitri, again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sachin, and thank you for the Cal Circle team for inviting me to be a part of this interview.
So there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about today, and I know, like, listen, Jetwing is a mainstay Sri Lankan brand, right? When you think about Sri Lanka tourism, Jetwing comes first to mind. But before we get into anything further down the line, can you kick us off by just telling us a story behind the brand? I know your grandfather started the brand, but we'd like to know about him a little bit. So please.
So yes, my grandfather, Mr. Herbert Cooray, was born in 1929 in Trostama, which is close to Avisavel, and he was the second son to his parents. And it was his mother who encouraged her husband to educate the two boys in Colombo, because she knew that they need a proper education. And when my grandfather and his elder brother were old enough, I think they moved to Colombo, and she rented a home near Kotehena and sent the two boys to St. Benedict's, where he started his education. And then, of course, from St. Benedict's, moved on to St. Joseph's for his A-levels, and then he got into university at the University of Peradeniya.
Okay.
My grandfather was also a socialist,
right?
And he was always very much a man of the soil, of the country and the soil, and he always went against the norm.
Right.
And even when he was in university, he was one of the first student leaders from the leftist side.
Right.
And he actually didn't graduate from, he didn't finish his studies, but he left prior to that due to various reasons, and then started a career as a salesman, insurance broker, and then went into teaching. He taught English, and then he followed his father into the building construction industry.
Right. Okay, I'm going to stop you there for a little bit. So just to get a little bit more context, right? What did your great-grandparents do for a living?
So my great-grandfather, Jeremias Cooray, was a building contractor.
In Negombo?
No, in, out of Tostam, but he used to build proper houses and things like that in Colombo.
Yeah.
And my great-grandmother was a housewife.
Yeah, but they had the vision at that time to send their kids to Colombo. Yeah. That's amazing.
Though she was probably not very much educated, but she knew that the children needed to be properly educated.
Yeah.
And she's the one who encouraged or pretty much forced the husband to
send them,
bring them to Colombo and educate the two boys there and ensure one became a doctor and another became a businessman eventually.
An entrepreneur. Yeah. Okay, so he went to Peradeniya, right? He was a socialist at heart, and he didn't graduate. So after Peradeniya, where did he end up from there?
So then, he came back to Colombo, and then as an insurance broker. And
so he started working
straight away. Right. Then he taught English and did a few things like that. Then he decided to follow the father and got into construction himself.
When you say he got into construction, did he join your father? Did he join his father's business, or he started his own business?
No, he started on his own. Okay. He started on his own, as anything. He started small, and then he was actually building hotels for other people.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then it was only in 1972 when he got an opportunity to build the Seychelles Hotel for Mr. Miloyson.
I'm going to stop you again once more. So he started his construction company in when? Do you know
so that was in the late 50s, early 60s.
Okay, so he had 20 years of experience.
He had about 15 years or so in construction.
Okay.
And then it's when in 72 he got the opportunity to build the Seychelles.
Right. So he had leisure was never on his mind.
Never on his mind.
Okay.
And at that time, Sri Lanka was actually a thriving tourism destination in the early 70s.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Scandinavian charter flights coming in during the winter months and so on. So it was Then the company named Windresser, based out of Scandinavia,
Okay. Who gave him the first contract?
who are the people who encouraged him to build
Okay,
build a
understood.
hotel of his own.
Windress.
And my grandfather told them, well, he knows how to build,
Yeah.
but not to run. But they told him not to worry,
Yeah.
that they will help him run.
Right.
And that's how in 73 he started with 6 rooms. Because the hotel was originally planned for 40,
Right.
but due to the demand, when 6 rooms are completed, Jetwing Blue Ocean Beach Hotel at that time was
Yeah.
opened up.
Okay.
And started, that's how. And the cooker from which was at home, my grandmother
Yeah.
took the cooker from home to take and made sure the first few meals were made.
Amazing.
And so that's how, like anything else, you start small.
Yeah. Yeah. So he started with the 6-room hotel. He funded it himself, and him and your
Yeah.
basically your grandmother and your grandfather. ran the
Father,
hotel.
yes.
So that is where Jetwing really started.
In 73.
And
Yes.
the name comes as a derivation from the Scandinavians who
So the
helped him.
name came a little later.
Okay.
So what happened was in 1981,
Yeah.
he started a travel company called Jet Travels.
Okay. So between 1972 and 1981, the hotel ran as is.
So hotel, yes. So it was the Blue Ocean Beach Hotel, and then he started to build the Royal Ocean Beach Hotel, which today is Jetwing Beach,
Right. Okay.
and which are next to each other.
Right.
And then slowly he started developing those, and then the opportunity came to open a travel agency
Nice.
with a German partner called Jet Reisen.
Jet Rise.
So
Okay.
Reisen is travel in German.
Right. Okay. Understood.
So the travel agency also started in 81, and things were growing a lot. And a few years down the line, Jet Reisen was bought over
Okay.
by another company in Germany,
Right.
and they were fine with my grandfather continuing the business
Yeah.
with them, but on one condition, he changes the name.
Right. Okay.
Jet Travels or something else,
Yeah.
and that time we were also having a partnership with Windresser, which was the Scandinavian company.
Okay.
And my father
Understood.
had also returned back from his studies in the US at that time, and that's when they decided, well, let's just not complicate matters, just
Yeah.
combine the jet and the wing,
Right.
and that's how
And
the
that's how
Jetwing
Jetwing
name,
began.
which was a very organic or very
Yeah.
not a planned
Yeah.
way, but just came about.
One thing I really want to kind of dig deeper into is that when we think about Jetwing, right now, I'm a consumer. I've stayed at a lot of your hotels. When anyone I talk to in Sri Lanka thinks about Jetwing, Jetwing is known as this iconic Sri Lankan brand, and more than anything, that is because it really has, how do I put it? It's like the soul of the company is very Sri Lankan, right? How did that come about? Was it from your grandfather? Or?
Yes, it was his vision, and because of his socialist ideas,
Right.
he always believed in giving back to the society.
Right.
Like if you go to any of our hotels, even from those days, we don't have any fences on the beach side,
Right.
or we have no gates.
Right.
We have always open door policy.
Right.
So his policy was always let and let live, because he used to tell my father, my aunt, and Andra Ruan, who have been in the company from the day one,
Yeah.
that if you don't gel in, and if you can't be one with the community, you will never be. We are all foreigners. Though we have started in Nidamba, none of us were from Nidamba.
Right.
The family wasn't from Nidamba. So
Right.
we moved in there, and then we had to build a relationship with the local communities. Where Nidamba was a very sleepy fishing village
Right.
in the 70s.
Right.
And today is one of Sri Lanka's busiest tourism destinations. So how we gelled with them, and it's his socialist thinking, and before things like ecotourism, sustainability, all these things came into play. His idea was always to make sure that we are responsible. So
Right.
whether it was sourcing locally, how we handled our waste. So Jetwing Blue Ocean, it was the first hotel out of Colombo to have its own sewage treatment plant in 1991.
Right. So
All this.
it really is a business that you kind of built with this socialist, not I wouldn't say socialist, but a overall theme of you wanted to give back to the community. And when y'all, even with your staff and with the work you do you all, like say when y'all are hiring, will you prefer getting people from that area who come in? Or?
Definitely. So we actually always focus mainly to hire from the area.
Right.
And we also have another, which we launched in 2006, called the Jetwing Youth Development Program.
Okay.
So this program, we work with the local communities depending on the area.
Right.
whether the local church, temple,
Right,
Kovil,
right, right.
depending on the majority in that particular area,
Yeah.
we will work with the priest. So the priest and also taught to the parents,
Right.
because especially for ladies to join the industry, there's a bit
Yeah.
of a stigma,
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that joining the hospitality industry means something else.
Yeah.
But we educate the parents first,
Hmm.
that don't worry, you can send your daughters to work with us,
Yeah.
and give them that assurance.
Yeah.
Then show the parents the property as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something which we have been doing always,
Right,
and
interesting.
which from the south, even in north,
Yeah.
east,
That you all
west,
still do.
to,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't want to get kind of too technical with things, because I think for our viewers, I think the story behind the brand and even your story, right, is very compelling. So, okay, we've learned a little bit about your grandfather's story, and that's very interesting. Tell us a little bit about how the next generations came into the business. So your dad was the first,
So
the second generation
yes,
to come.
my dad joined in 88, 89 after
Right.
he finished. So that's also because that's probably the worst time in my father always tells, because
Yeah.
that's time the riots, JVP riots, and all were happening as well.
Yeah.
And my father was finishing his studies in the US, in North Carolina.
Right.
And my grandfather had just told him, okay, come back.
Yeah. So he
And-
was from young days, he wanted to come back into the business.
I think it was, well, when you're in a family business, you somewhat grow up in it.
Absolutely.
But so my father went to study marketing and so on in North Carolina, and
Yeah.
then he was coming to the end, and my grandfather had come for his graduation and told him, okay, now once you're done, come back.
Yeah.
So my dad just packed his bags and came back. And he says those 2 years was a very challenging time, because
Absolutely.
you have issues in the north,
Yeah.
issues in the south. People were just hardly any tourists. But for a few years, you're just following my dad around, my grandfather around,
Yeah.
learning, because it depends. You can have so many degrees, but it's that hands-on experience. So
And at that time, when your dad came back, how many hotels did you guys have under the brand?
So at that time, we had three properties in Nidambo and St. Andrews in
Morelia.
Morelia. And then Yala was bought by one of in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Because that was owned by one of my granddad's friends.
Right.
So we had about five, six properties then.
Yeah.
And now, of course, things expanded over time. And now we have about 38 properties around Sri Lanka, from large hotels to
Yeah.
bungalows and villas.
Fantastic. So let's kind of dive into your story a little bit, right? Because I think that is also kind of compelling. In that, okay, so as a kid, when your dad was a kid, the brand was still very new, right? It was a smaller brand. Whereas when you and your brothers were kids, this is now getting established. And also, you all grew this business at a time when Sri Lanka was, like you said, going through an insurrection or multiple insurrections, a war. So there was a lot of challenges there. As a kid, what was your experience growing up in the family?
So, well, especially when my grandfather was alive, most Sundays we used to have dinner at his house, and always from a young age we used to hear business being supported by my father, my aunt, and he would always, though it's a family meal, they would always start business. And from a young age, I enjoyed listening to those. And even when my father used to entertain to operators or whatnot at home, I used to always tell my mother and father, try to have it on a Friday or a Saturday so I can stay up and not sleep early, because otherwise I need to go sleep because I have school. And it's so I always enjoyed socializing, meeting people, and it was I never studied too much in school, but I always knew this was where I wanted to end up, and following their footsteps. So it was my father never forced not myself or my brothers to join. All three of us had our own choice, and he was actually more interested in us playing cricket for St. Joseph's, and my youngest captain, youngest brother captain's role, which my father was extremely proud of. And that's how three of us went to different parts. I was in Singapore and Australia.
Right.
Hashan went to the US and Hari into New Zealand.
Right.
But we studied separately. But as soon as we finished, we just got on a plane and came back because nowhere like home.
Absolutely. So when did you come back? What year did you arrive back?
In 2015, so about 10 years now. And so I came in 2015, and then I joined as a management trainee to Jetwing. I, of course, had previously worked in Singapore and Australia. I did a couple of internships
Okay.
at the Shangri-La, and
Right.
that gave a lot of from being a waiter, cleaning
Yeah,
rooms.
yeah, yeah.
So learned
From the ground up.
up.
Yeah.
And then joined as a management trainee and worked for about a year in Nidambo
Right.
under Hyacinth Dunavadhan, who's still one of our directors now.
Yeah.
And then came to the head office, joining the operations team, and then of course to the current role today.
Yeah. How was that transition of coming in, starting as a management trainee and then building your way up the ranks while your dad and your aunt were still very much a part of the business, and I think your brothers also came into the business? How did you personally deal with that transition? Because I ask you this because I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this, some of them might have their own family businesses, some of them might be wanting to start businesses, and really that transition from going to a role of leadership, right? I think that is a very important thing because it's not something that can be taught. How was that transition for you?
So that actually, by starting well as a management trainee, seeing how our hotels run, because what my father told is just follow, learn, and then you can start making decisions of your own. So it helped just following our senior managers, seeing, because every company has different cultures.
Yeah.
And though I worked in hotels in Singapore and Australia, the way it operates is very different. And learning our culture, how our hotels work, the staff, getting to know them, all of that, and then slowly, gradually becoming the manager operations, and then working with Jerome, who was our director of operations at that time, learning from him. Jerome had a lot of experience, overseas experience with the Hilton, and then under Ruan, who's our chairman now. So these all helped me to learn from them and my father and aunt, of course.
Yeah.
And eventually slowly rising up the ladder. And I think it's important is not to demand respect.
Yeah.
You have to earn it.
Yeah.
How you be humble, how you talk to people.
Yeah.
All that is something that we were taught from a young age.
Yeah.
Respecting adults,
Yeah.
elders, and so on. So, and then slowly gaining their trust that, okay, this guy is capable of
managing
doing this.
Yeah. So another thing that I've noticed, right, and
So,
in my travels across Sri Lanka and staying at your hotels as well as other hotels, I think one place that Jetwing kind of stands out is that the level of service is standard, right? You know, when you go to a Jetwing hotel, you're going to get a level of service and a level of food and a level of accommodation which is standardized. I mean that's easier to like say than to do, right? Across a 30 hotel chain. How did you all get that quality across the group? Is that something training that you all do in-house?
So definitely training is the number one, because for us, our biggest asset is our associates. We have little over 3,000 associates across our properties and about another few hundred in our travel arm.
Yeah.
The associates is what makes Jetwing different. Because like you said, Sachin, it's very easy you can build a property. Brick and mortar, no problem. If you have the capital, you can build something, but it's that warmth and the genuine hospitality. Thankfully, we live in a country where the people are naturally warm.
Yeah.
Sri Lankans are naturally very hospitable, very warm, loving people. And that is something we look in. When we hire somebody as a trainee when they're 18, 19, even to our youth program, we don't look at any qualifications.
Right.
The only thing we look is if they're able to smile.
Right.
Because that is something very hard to teach.
That's true.
But as long as they can smile, then teach them English and the other hospitality skills are no problem.
Okay.
And what we always tell our associates is you serve from the heart and not looking at a dollar on somebody's forehead.
Right.
If you go behind the tip, or if you're just trying to serve somebody just expecting something, then you're cheating somebody.
Yeah.
You have to serve from the heart,
Absolutely.
be genuine, and then of course if somebody thinks you deserve something extra, they will. Otherwise, you will be still remunerated for what you do.
Yeah. Interesting. Another thing, and when we were kind of coming up with what we were going to talk about today, one thing at least in my head that I really wanted to grill you on, right, was the period of crisis. Between 2019 with the Easter attacks, right, and 2022, 2023 with the economic crisis, there were 5 years where our hospitality industry was basically decimated. And I know a lot of hotels went out of business. Y'all lost, or not only y'all, but the whole industry lost a lot of stuff, right? As a leader or as someone who was coming into a role of leadership and someone who has a family business that has 30 hotels, right? How did you all deal with that crisis? What was it like in 2019?
Yeah, so that was probably the most frightening period Sri Lanka faced. And we as a, like anybody else, as a company also had a very challenging time because there's so much of uncertainty. And we had probably 2.5 to 3 months where we had zero clients. And we had, like I said before, 3,000 people, we had to pay their salaries. And something my father used to speak with our director who's in charge of finance and leader, Sanjeeva, was, do we have enough to pay the staff at the end of the month? Because that, our main priority was the people we had, because end of the day, they are our biggest asset, like I said. So it was a challenge, but thank God, with thanks to our faith in God and everything, we were able to overcome that. And of course, thankfully, the Sri Lankan economy slowly started getting better, but it was just determination and, of course, very disciplined finance management, which we have been practicing from the time of my grandfather.
Yeah.
My grandfather had a very few principles. One of those was he used to always tell everyone was, you have to pay your people on time, pay the bank on time, and your supplies on time.
Yeah.
If it's 30 days credit, you have to pay it within 30 days. If your salaries are due on a particular day, it goes on that day. Yeah. So he ensured that we had always finance discipline, and that is something that helped us to survive.
Right.
Because we are, the way we handle our numbers, so ensure that we don't go bust, because the way, otherwise, like you said, there were sadly some properties that went under, but because of the discipline he had instilled many years ago, which we practice to date, helped us to survive even in the darkest of hours.
Right. Let's kind of touch on a little bit about the future of Sri Lanka's tourism, and then we can talk about the future of Jetwing as well. One thing that I have seen, and I travel fairly, frequently, especially in Sri Lanka, for the last, say, you take the last 20 years, right? A lot of the destinations which were pristine 15, 10 years ago, now when I go, I'm actually quite saddened by the state of the places, right? And it's just over tourism or over construction. How does Sri Lanka get out of this mindset? How do we make tourism something that's sustainable? Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So, unfortunately, Sri Lanka doesn't have a proper guidance or a plan when it comes to building.
Yeah.
Because there are certain countries in the world which have regulation, guidelines to say that properties can't be above a certain height.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a certain location, the buildings have to be in a certain color or certain architectural style. Here it's free for all. If you have the money, you get the approval, you can build whatever. So, like you said, there are so many beautiful destinations which have been sadly ruined or destroyed due to the lack of proper planning and guidelines, which hopefully the government will hopefully one day put in. There are restrictions, but there aren't proper guidelines. So those are essential to ensure that there is quality, and Sri Lanka should be aiming for quality rather than quantity. Because we are a small island. We have very limited number of resources. It's not that we have from our infrastructure to our what we can deliver. All that is very limited. So we need to ensure that we get high spending clients rather than the volume. Of course, it's important to have numbers, but we should focus more on the amount we earn per client rather than the number of heads who come through.
And how do we get there? What do we have to develop to get there? Do we have to develop the hotels, or do we have to develop other things?
The main thing is we need to market our destination. See, Sri Lanka is a 5-star island with a 3-star image. Right?
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, sadly, due to all the problems, like in the Indian ocean, there are 4 island destinations, islands which are tourist destinations.
Right.
Sri Lanka, Maldives, Mauritius, and Seychelles.
Right.
All other 3 have very limited resources. They only have the sea, sun, and the sand. Right?
Yeah.
We have so much.
Yeah.
But all those are at a different brand level, they are positioned.
Yeah.
Recently, Maldives Tourism signed up with Liverpool Football Club.
Right.
As so they are
Are you
really
a Liverpool fan?
I'm not a Liverpool. I'm a Man U fan, but they
So am I.
they are advertising with Liverpool, and so all that has
Yeah.
they are really going ahead, and they are spending some big dollars in that,
Yeah.
where they are positioning their island
Yeah.
as a world class destination, whereas we live in a 5-star island. We have so much wildlife, the beaches, hill country,
Yeah.
all that
And all within
within a
5-6
few hours.
hours
Yeah.
drive. No.
We are the only country in the world where you can see the largest mammal on land and in the ocean within a couple of hours drive.
Yeah.
Right?
But how many people in Sri Lanka even know that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't position, we are not confident. Sri Lankans themselves put ourselves down. We don't talk about the country enough, we don't promote our destination. Yes, we have so much to offer.
Yeah.
And now hopefully we will position, and that way we will attract, because if you look, branding is essential. Even if you look at the best companies, why does Apple keep putting out ads?
Yeah.
Everybody will might have an iPhone or an iWatch or whatever, but still they keep on advertising.
Yeah.
Why do so? You have to keep on marketing if you want to attract the right clientele.
Yeah. And I think you need to have a structured way of doing it, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise every 2-3 years you're shifting from one to campaign to another
Exactly.
campaign to another campaign. Couple more things that we can talk about, I think, before we can wrap up. One is, okay, so we've talked about the future of, well, Sri Lanka as a destination and what we should be getting to. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have in terms of your plan for the business, for Jetwing? If you take, I know, doing 10-year horizons and all, it's very theoretical, but over the next 10 years, you as an MD, where would you like to position the brand? Will it be in Sri Lanka or abroad? Will it be, whatever? What can you tell us a little bit about your vision?
So at the moment, you should not look too far, because you never know what will happen.
You don't know what will happen tomorrow.
But of course, we are always very optimistic. That's how we have grown from 1973 to where we are, because my grandfather was an optimist.
Yeah.
Even in the height of trouble,
Yeah.
he used to build. For example, the foundation stone of Lighthouse Hotel in Galle was supposed to be laid, and the day before there was a central bank bomb.
Yeah.
But he decided, and at that time the Haley's chairman, Mr. Sunil Mendis, decided, no, there will never be a perfect time. Just go ahead. And today Lighthouse is one of our most successful properties.
Brilliant. That's a really good anecdote.
So we have been always very confident, and we are always optimistic. And something where we are looking at is, at the moment, is how we can heritage some of Sri Lanka's historic buildings or houses.
Okay,
so we have been including Uncle Ajit, he restored a house in Rabuttaran, and now we also have done so in Ambevela, Jaffna, in Galle, and so on, and now...
So I just want to ask a question on that. So these properties, do you all approach the owners and ask them to, like, you take it as management contracts? Or how,
no,
how
so
would
we
you
are actually
envisage it?
buying and investing.
You are buying it, okay, brilliant.
Because the thing is, the value for us also is when we own the asset.
Right, absolutely.
Right? Because actually most of these houses to buy, it's relatively cheap.
See, because the house is
it's in such a bad condition, but you have to spend 5-6 times more to get it to what we want.
Yes.
So we have a few more houses which will be coming up in the next couple of years. In Prostoda, we are looking at another place in Jaffna.
Okay, brilliant.
And then wherever we see some opportunity, we will, and if it's strategic to us, we will.
Yeah.
And hopefully, eventually, we might look at expanding overseas also.
Right.
Currently, we have one property in New Zealand.
Right.
Of course, that is not branded Jetwing, but we have had it since 2007.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
So that's a very small 23-room motel in Auckland.
Right.
And it doesn't carry the Jetwing brand. It has Rosas off Broadway.
And y'all run it from here?
Well, we have a Sri Lankan couple who run the property for us, who used to work with us here.
Right.
And they migrated to New Zealand and they run it. And
that's brilliant.
For the last almost nearly 18 years, things have gone well.
Superb.
So eventually we will look at expanding maybe, but currently our focus is ensure, because we had a very bad hit, and we need to ensure that the local business is in good stand before we can expand.
But y'all are, I mean, I know we are coming out of crisis and there is a lot of positivity. you as the managing director and as a family business, well, third generation director of the family business, you all are fairly confident of the next 4-5 years. You think there is a lot of potential?
Definitely. We are very confident, and we have seen even last financial year, this year so far, numbers have been good, and we are expecting this financial year to end even better than last year. So we are
Fantastic.
very confident in the industry and in the country.
Yeah.
As long as there is peace, stability,
Yeah.
tourism will do well.
Yeah.
Those are the two most important things.
Yeah.
As long as you have peace, security, safety,
Yeah.
people will
And
come.
touch wood, we
Yeah.
keep stable and we keep peaceful. To kind of end things or end our conversation, and I think one thing is, I keep saying, a lot of people who watch these kind of podcasts, they watch it with a learning in mind, right? And I think we did learn a hell of a lot about the business. We learned about the foundings of the business, what sets the business apart from maybe others in the space, your vision for the country, your vision for the business. If you're going to talk directly to our audience, right, and young business leaders or people trying to start a business or whatever it may be, what are some of the advice or advices that you can give people in terms of, forget leisure, running a business and things that you need to keep in mind as you grow a business, as you expand a business? Can you tell us a little bit about something that will help?
So I think like how you and my grandfather started, you start small. From 6 rooms, now we are almost 1,500 rooms. So, and it's a long journey, depending on what business. But those certain principles are important. I think financial discipline is the most important. How you control your finances is essential in any business, especially on a rainy day, like what we went through.
Absolutely.
If you don't have control, if you have overborrowed or overspent, then you'll get in trouble. So make sure that you are very conscious of your numbers, handling your cash flows, and so on, and be honest, truthful, and always be just citizens and give back to the country as well.
Yeah.
Like in the Bible, it says, give back to Caesar what it's due. At the moment, there are a lot of taxes to be paid, but you still, that is part and parcel. You need to ensure that those things happen. You need to be how you guide yourselves, how you approach people, and how you handle your communities, especially if you are going to be operating in different areas, understanding those cultures. For us, especially when we went to the north and the east, different cultures, different language, all of that, how we work with those communities, respect those cultures. For example, some of our, so in Jaffna we don't serve beef in the property.
Right.
In Pothuwil we don't serve pork because we respect those religions and the areas. So it's just adapting and be always, because today's world is evolving rapidly with technology, with all these new things coming into place. So you need to be relevant and keep adapting, keep evolving, because sometimes the businesses of yesterday won't be relevant tomorrow. So you need to see, if you're starting something today, what relevance it will have in 10 years, 15 years or so on. So, and now, unlike before, there's so much opportunity with the internet and social media. People can staying at home, you can run a business. So there are so much of opportunity. Just be true to yourself, work hard, and for us, we were fortunate to be born into a family business, but there is no stopping anyone from starting on your own and doing
succeeding.
great things. Exactly.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to end things. Thank you, Dimitri, for your time. That was honestly, it was a really good session, and I learned a lot about your business and about you as an individual. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sachin.
And thank you for taking the time.
Pleasure.
Awesome.
Pleasure
Thanks a
having
lot.
you. Yeah, thank you.